Hello everybody, welcome back. We're on Gelvin Valley, Farming Simulator 15. Wonderful map made by Wild Wild Wes. You know, I think this is my 111th episode on this map. The time really stacks up when these are just half an hour apiece and there's all kinds of work to do on here, and I'm showing it all to you. Or most of it anyways. I think there was one other field over here we got to go bale. So I tried to put canola kind of in the outlying field so we didn't have to go too far with the baler. But I don't know. We'll zip by these two fields over here. Just as well have baled them, I suppose. Yeah, I see the field we want to go to way over there. It's the Stonehenge field. And I realized this is a lot of episodes on now what is an old game. I don't know. I just have a soft spot, I think, for Farm Sim 15 in particular. It's when I discovered Farming Simulator. And I know we all have a story about how we discovered it. This is the version that was a current version. Of course, the version I started on was 09. Then I spent a ton of time on 11, eventually got to 15. So I don't know. Maybe that's just the sentimental side of things. Oh, and I wonder if the baling started. Yeah, we'll just kind of head on over here. I'm going to tip this thing. That looks a little tipsy. Yeah. Get down there. Oh. Alright. Somewhere in here. I think I must have... There we go. Yep, here's where I started. Alright. Let her rip. Oh, except it's usually best if you lower the pickup. There we go. Boy, there's some places I could probably almost get 2 windrows for the price of 1. Yeah, then there's other times it just doesn't quite reach. I think right is a oh, yeah, some of these bales do gymnastics on their way out the chute. I think in the last episode I was starting to talk about, oh, just some wood cutting. Have any of you ever done any wood cutting? I think I was visiting about things we do to, oh, stress reducer, if you will, to do with whatever we got going on. Oh, that doesn't like that. There we go. And firewood seems to be a pretty decent one. You know, I sit at a desk all day, so it's particularly good for someone like me to get off my duff and go out and swing a sledgehammer. I think, yeah, that was one of the last comments I made in the last video, is there's something so satisfying, at least to me, about splitting some firewood, especially when it works. You know, if we were doing fir, and fir generally is pretty easy to split. Oak can be a much different story. You know, oak tends to have more knots, and it's just tighter grain, I think, and it doesn't yield itself to the maul quite as easily as fir does. So because it was fir, we just kind of used, we just did it with the old-fashioned splitting maul. And I gotta say, my son did all the work. I, we live right next door to my folks, and my mom saw us what we were doing out there, and she came out and hollered down there that I should be swinging it. And I don't know, what would you guys do? I assume there are some people I'm talking to here, dads. Um, Maybe there's some mothers, but I have no idea. What would you do if it was your son and you remember what it was like? My son is, at this point, he's 18 years old. Um, he had taken it upon himself to get started on this. I hadn't even asked him to. I was at work and I came home just a little bit earlier than usual because I knew we had this to do over there. I didn't even know he was going to be down there. So I get down there and he probably has it 2/3 away done, split. And he's just sweating. He's working his tail off at it. And he has a chopping block all set up and just going to town on it. So what I did is, anytime you split firewood, one of the things you got to do, of course, is set up the pieces. So I figured I could do that part for him. So all the spools, the pieces it would split off, there's a lot of energy that can be expended in picking all those up, setting them back up so you can split them again. So I did that part for him, and all he had to do then was, I say all he had to do, that was the hard part, obviously, to swing them all, as I set it up for him. And honestly, I was sweating setting up the pieces for him too. Um, but what would you have done? I don't know. I just figured that as a young man, what he never told me this, but I have a feeling he got started on it and thought he would try to get it done maybe before I got home. I'm not going to ask him about that, but I figured that's kind of what his goal was. So I didn't want to take that away from him. So that when we got done with it, he could or I could tell people that he had done all the splitting. He didn't need his dad to come in and help him do any of the hard part. So, I don't know. That's one of those judgment calls, I guess, you make as a dad. I'd be curious what any of you guys would do. We still got a little bit more over there to do. Got to go pick the stuff up. They've been stacking some other firewood here lately. Except now we're down to the really hard part. I don't know if any of you have ever attempted to split the stumps. My father cut it off, clear down into the roots here the other day. I think he's going to get a stump grinder out to finish taking care of it. But he got as much of it off as he could. But some of that at the base of the tree can really be some nasty splitting. So, yeah, who knows what we'll do with that. It's fun as long as you make progress. At least that's my observation. Those pieces of wood, and anybody that's done firewood knows what I'm saying, where you have to beat on it for, like 10 blows just to get the first crack to appear. Yeah, that ain't so fun. You just, well, you get some good exercise, I guess. And if you're looking to blow off some steam, maybe that does it. I think I've mentioned before another one of my pastimes that I enjoy is cooking. So I suppose that's another way to blow off steam. Made a lot of Chinese food, and I haven't made any of that here recently, which means I probably need to make some. I'm pulling a hill here. Oh, it's steeper. That's one disadvantage of being at the orientation I'm at. You don't quite see just how steep the terrain is. But I still prefer it. You know, this worked pretty well, taking a couple windrows here. Question I always have is whether I get fewer bales by doing so, but I assume it knows how to add those up. But here of late, and I can't remember if I've talked about this before. Um, I know I've mentioned, you know, my church, and I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I work with 12th graders. Let me see if I pick that up. I could probably go a little quicker. And one of the things I've done, I did it all last year. I'm trying it again this year. Um, Kind of as a goodwill gesture, if you will, or I don't know, just for kicks, because especially because I enjoy doing it. One of the questions I asked the kids at the beginning of the school year, which we just had not that long ago, September, is, you know, I asked them a bunch of questions. You know, what's your favorite Bible story, and so forth and so on. Things pertinent, if you will, to the activity for which we're all there. And then I just kind of threw in, I said, what's your favorite cookie? Or, yeah, I think that's how I asked it, your favorite cookie? And so we have, how many was there the first day? 10? I think there was 11 people, but only 10 of them turned something in. So I'm going to take whatever they told me and, oh shoot, I didn't get that last little dab. And then through the course of this coming year, you know, our Sunday school year runs from, we start in September, and then we take the month of August off each year. So between now and next July, I'll try to bake the recipes for these kids. All right, can I heave this clear up to the top? There you go, snap. Oop. Okay, now this one, there we go forward. I'm trying to remember the input binding. All right, tally ho. I think I'll just go out the gate over here that I came up this way and probably head down to the pasture. Maybe do that one next. Ooh! You know, I'm going to wait to burp the bales out. I know I could probably get at least one more out. I think I'll do that down in the pasture here, just so it's closer and I don't have to carry it as far. Love this road in the woods to head out of this field. Quite realistic. Actually, I could probably back this thing over in the bale cell over there and be done with it. Wouldn't necessarily be any need to cart these clear over to the other side, other than it's a little tight if I recall correctly. So, what do you do to blow off steam? Outside of this game. And while you're at it, what's your favorite cookie? I don't know if I've mentioned mine before. I think it's a snickerdoodle. It's kind of a cinnamon sugar type cookie. And some of it I think is just flat out nostalgic. You know, I grew up in a large family, and we manufactured that by the hundreds and thousands over the years, you know, to go in school lunches, to kind of have on hand for snacking on or whatever. We made a lot of snickerdoodles. I don't know, maybe they're my mom's favorite cookie too. Down in the pasture Here we go. Don't hit nothing. Down it goes. Off to the right. Oh, I did that again. It's gonna spin me around. Sorry. Hope it doesn't mess with anybody's vertigo. I'm talking to you, Atomic. And I'm not going to be able to fit two of them in. That's just going to leave me frustrated. I wonder how I did it on that other one. I must have used GPS and squeezed the lane size down so that I could get in two. Maybe doing them all straight makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, I don't know. This here, I must have just free-handed it. Match that bit of straw. That's kind of handy. Yeah, I'm liking these arms. So I don't know. You know, maybe in the future I'll just use this baler instead of the round baler. Trying to keep an eye on the time here. Hour and 22 minutes. Hopefully I can get it all done. One never knows, does one? You know, as I think on the renting question, this is done by virtue of a mod in here, and whether people have used this mod or not, I don't know. I know in real life, of course, we all know you can rent virtually anything, whether it's land or equipment. Sometimes some very interesting arrangements. I mean, I know this is decades ago, but I worked with a client who put up a building on land that they didn't own. I thought that was very interesting, that you would own a building, which is something fixed and you can't move, and you would put it on land that someone else owns. You know, it seems to me like with a building, you know, it would stay with the land. It isn't like, oh, the lease is up, so now we're going to take our building and go. Not quite that simple. Now, the lease they set up, it was a 50-year lease, so I at least give them credit for giving the lease some life, but it kind of was a different arrangement. But, you know, it's really interesting, the clients and whatnot that we serve, you know, in my occupation, being in public accounting, we see all kinds. And we serve a number of farmers, and of course, farming and agriculture and food processing and anything related is highly capital intensive. There's a lot of money that gets sunk into property and equipment type assets. But it's interesting to see how these different businesses, sometimes in the same industry, manage their financing. You know, we have, whether it's ag or not, we have like an excavator client. They own virtually everything that they use. You know, somehow they've landed on that as the best decision for their needs. And then there are others who lease substantial portions of their equipment or buildings or land. You know, I don't know if that's different in other nations. You know, I know there's someone from the UK that watches this, someone from New Zealand I know that's watched a number of these. It probably all just depends on the economics of the area as to what makes sense. I know here in America it seems like, you know, like everywhere in the world, the rich get richer, and land, like they say, they're not making any more of it, so at some point the cost of land starts to outpace what people are able to afford. So I know there's areas of the country where land is owned by big conglomerates, where people have pooled resources and, they make a go of it that way. Let me just take a gander at my fields here real quick. Oops, maybe it's further. All right, so we've gone here and we've gone here. We've done the pasture. So we have 3, 1, 2, 8, and 37. Bon voyage. Sometimes, just for kicks, when I'm on the internet and bored, I'll look up land prices and that kind of thing, and it's all over the board. The right to build on land puts the cost of it at a significant premium, and obviously, wonderful farmland is going to put it at a premium. Woo, that barely fits. Woo! Alright, this barely's going to work, but it's going to work nonetheless. Please don't drop that bale. Oh, you did. Now, something blew out up here. I don't know what this was. Probably somebody pointed the combine off into the brush or into the grass. Guess I wouldn't have to take these counterclockwise. Hey, I can almost do 2 windrows here. Almost. But yeah, it's all over the board. The state I live in has some very rich farmland, kind of in the valley where I live. And if it's irrigated, years ago they would say irrigated farmland, could run 10,000 an acre. Now I think it's north of 20. Just to purchase it, get the dirt with no improvements. But then you go from that, and if you go to the eastern part of the state where I live, the ground isn't near as rich. And sometimes I've noticed this, like when you look up, if it isn't arable land, so you can't do much with it other than put cattle on it maybe for grazing part of the year. And that's where then too, if the land comes with water, water rights are huge too, and the water rights are typically distinct and separate from the underlying land. So sometimes people can own water rights and they don't even own the property. And that's getting harder to come by anymore too. If you need to drill a well, the state, even if you do own the waters, I understand that the state still says, hey, we own all the water. You're basically just leasing it from us, and you get the right to use it from us. But a lot of times, like in the eastern part of the state, there's some areas where the land is dirt cheap. But it's cheap for a reason. I mean, it's way out in the middle of nowhere, very remote areas, undeveloped, and all you have maybe is a ranch. You may not even have power in some of these locations. That's how far out the sticks it is. And so I think I've seen before, even below $50 an acre, depending on the deal and where it is. So I guess you could get a bunch of acres and say, well, yeah, I'm a landowner over there. Trouble is, can't get to it because there's no roads, or it's very rough riding, if you do try to get to it. So I know it's all a relative thing. Sometimes I know We all know America is a big place. Um, and some of the other nations, you know, I think of the UK and, you know, being on an island or, oh, come on, or New Zealand, some of those places, you know, as a population grows, how, what does that do to the price of land? I can't help but imagine that it just continues making it go higher and higher. So farming in those areas must be even more challenging, I think, than maybe even here. But I wouldn't know. That's one of the variables, obviously, of farming, but certainly not all. Oh, are you gonna make it out? Come on, bend that bale. Oh, come on. Squeak out. There we go. There we go. Balin', balin'. Ah, I can't remember. No, not that. Um, left mouse button. But it can't be with course play open. I think this other one, yep, that'll put down that side. Alright, looks like I have some straight ones in here that maybe I can take two at once. And I think once again we're going to burp out a bale. That's fine. Close to the entrance. So I don't know, if I switch to just renting everything I needed in here, maybe that would seem kind of like a cheat, because I would be circumventing the repair mod somewhat, but I still wonder if I need to dial that back. Man, it just piles up repairs quick. And the truth of the matter is, if you lease equipment and you damage it, you don't get to just send that back without paying for it. So it's kind of a circumvention of the mod to just be able to turn in equipment that's damaged and have no consequence. And if I had unlimited energy, I suppose I could figure out a way for those mods to talk to each other so that you did have to pay some repairs when you took it in, but I don't think I'll touch that. When it comes to modding, ideas are always plentiful. Time is few. And even my time on this particular map may be a little limited. This is going to air so long after the fact, it won't matter. But just today, the day that I'm recording this here, there's an episode I put out on Farming Sim 22, and it's on a map called Hobo's Hollow, and it's really a fun project I'm looking forward to. I assume the map is fun too, but frankly I don't care so much about the particular map. My good friend Atomic 67 proposed that we try something together jointly, and it was to play on the same map, and we would pass the save game back and forth between us. So he said he had heard that Reefy1952, aka Mike, has done this before with someone else. I don't remember. He maybe told me who, but I don't recall. Reefy, if you hear this, you can indicate in the comments who it was. So we're kind of borrowing your idea to try this on Farm Sim 22. So I'm really looking forward to it. Just did the first episode, and it's similar format to here. I guess he calls it, Atomic calls it chewing the fat. That's kind of his term for it. I don't know what you call the blarney I put into these episodes here. You know, I've labeled them kind of as a let's play. They're not really let's play. It's kind of talk to people while playing a game. I don't know what you call that style. While talking about whatever comes to your mind. So I think I mentioned this was my 111th episode, and I still don't know where all this is going in here. Um, this now is the second season I've dragged everybody through. Not really a season, but I'm trying to do all the farming for these kind of as if it was a season. So I don't know how many more times people want to be dragged through it. But I'd like to make it a profitable farm at least, you know? Alright. Oops. Except I don't want to do that. Let me raise that. Raise that. And we are going to head down to the next. Just a little bit, so on this Hobo's Hollow thing, I really enjoy interacting with Atomic. He's a very creative person, and I think he's an excellent YouTuber. I wish he would make more videos. I'm sure a lot of us wish he would, but I know from talking to him, it can be exhausting to put out content, and you know, especially, I mean, it's just, it's hard work, or can be, especially with the effort he puts into it. Whoops, I'm getting hung up on the fence. And he does a lot of video editing, and I feel so lazy on that kind of thing. And I'm sure everybody can tell, I don't do video editing at all, hardly. On these videos, I don't know, for Gelvin Valley, I don't think I've edited a single one of them that I can recall. You know, I have another series on Lone Oak. I've edited a couple of those, but not very much. You know, when you open these things, you can see all the way to the little thing it puts on the screen, you know, when it tells you you're starting up a new video. It's like, you know, I probably could edit that out, but I just haven't. That just takes a lot of extra effort, and Atomic's been really good about that. That's why he's a professional at this and I'm not. But so that was probably my primary motivation, was just to get to spend some time with him, kind of on a joint project. The other motivation was just to get into Farm Sim 22 a little bit. You know, I'm having loads of fun still on 15 even, of all things. But probably need to get with the program and modernize on a couple things. Maybe I'll get up to the top of the hill here and call it quits. I know it's getting kind of late where I'm at, and I probably need to get myself to bed so I'm of use at work tomorrow. But that's probably a good place to stop it right there. I'll even let you see me save it. Well, there we sit. You know, I should check out the weather. You know, one thing I've noticed recording today, I don't know what makes a difference. I don't have that bar problem at the top of my screen. So I don't know if it was a driver which I recently updated and it fixed my problem, Maybe I shouldn't even talk about it lest I jinx the situation, but whatever it is, thank you for watching. Looks like we're on our 105th bale, so we'll have a few of them to pick up here shortly, but hope you have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing and wherever you're at, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.